What's good in the YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here, bringing another video. Today I'm bringing a video on Morphicon 2018, and today will be probably on day 2, but it may also be on day 3 of my experience at Morphicon 2018. Morphicon is a major Power Rangers convention that happens every 2 years. It's super fun, super exciting, and if you're into Power Rangers, it is the biggest Power Rangers convention that happens every 2 years. And it has actors from Power Rangers, it has suit actors, voice actors, actors from VR Troopers, Big Bad Beetleborgs, Super Sentai, and several other properties. It reveals many new things, like the next cast. It reveals many new things for the current season and several other things as well. And it's just a really fun time. So today I'm going to be discussing my day 2 and possibly day 3 of Power Morphicon. I'm going to try to reduce this down a lot, and certain things I'll be discussing in other videos that I won't go into too much in this video, just because I want to save my extensive dissection or detailing of those for other videos that I have planned in the future. I originally had one something that I was discussing in this video that I went into a lot longer than I needed to, and I realized, wait, this should be in that video that I was going to do, so why am I talking about it here? So we'll get into that so that I don't do that this time. So anyway, I wanted to start off with how day 2 started, but first of all I'll mention that the way that day 1 started, for those that didn't, the way that day 1 ended, for those that didn't see that one yet, day 1 basically ended with me going to the VIP meet and greet, hanging out with some Ranger actors, getting some drinks, going and having some snacks, just kind of chilling out with some Ranger actors and just having fun with them. Day 2 started similar to day 1 with me going to a line to get the day started for day 2. We got in there, I managed to go to some vendors, buy a couple of things, and then head off to the Ninja Steel panel. The Ninja Steel / Hasbro panel. So that worked out okay. I got on that line. That line filled up very fast, but I was one of the first people in line, probably within the first like 60 or so, which you may think it doesn't sound like one of the first people, but in reality, with that panel, that was the one panel. I mean, those 2 panels were like the main panels that probably had the biggest attendance out of all the panels at the convention. So keep that in mind, that if being one of the first 60 may not sound like a lot, it may not sound like one of the first, but it really is. So I got in there. I did have the privilege of being able to sit in the first 3 rows, but I chose instead to sit further back, because if I sat in the first 3 rows, the only seats that were available at the time were ones off to the side in the first 3 rows. So I decided instead, let me go to like the 5th or 6th row in the middle, so that way I can get a complete view from all perspectives, from left to right to right in front of my face. So I decided to do that, and that was really good. The Hasbro panel was really fun. It started off with us seeing new merchandise for Power Rangers, new lines, new stuff, you name it. For starters, we ended up hearing about Legacy Wars, which looks to be really good with the new additions it's making to Legacy Wars. Legacy Wars, for those who do not know, is a major Power Rangers mobile game. It's been very popular since it launched back in March of 2017, and now we're into August of 2018. So again, it's been around for roughly about 18 months now, which is pretty good length. Definitely not a short time. It's definitely had its life overall, and it's still going strong, and there's no plan for it to stop anytime soon, so that's really, really good. But as far as things go, they announced they announced a new character that didn't already get revealed, and then there were characters that have been announced that will be showing up in the game, but like haven't been in the game yet, at least. So I'm going to go through both. For starters, the characters that were announced that will be in the game soon are SPD Shadow Ranger, who was Doggy Kruger in Power Rangers SPD, so that's very cool. He was a very highly requested character for Power Rangers Legacy Wars, so no surprise there that he is one of the ones that's going to be introduced soon, and I think he's actually the first one of the 5 that is going to be introduced. And for those who are wondering why all these characters are being announced at the same around the same time, is mainly because there's a lot of requests for is because of the fact that it's the 25th anniversary and they want to do something big. So they decided to announce 5 characters at once to kind of celebrate the franchise and do something cool like that. So that was very exciting. Then they announced the Titanium Ranger from Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, which is very cool because Lightspeed hasn't had anyone representing it yet. So great to see that happening. Then they announced Antonio from Power Rangers Samurai. So he is the Gold Ranger. So we have Gold, and we have Lauren, the female Red Ranger. And then they announced 5 days ago or so Ranger Slayer from Power Rangers, Go Power Rangers, the comics, which is the evil Kimberly from that. So that's very cool. And then the one that was just announced during that convention was the final piece, which is the Hyperforce Yellow Ranger Jack. And Paul Schreier and Jason Narvi. Paul Schreier, by the way, played Jack on Power Rangers Hyperforce, or Bulk on the main series of Power Rangers for Power Rangers My Morphin through Lost Galaxy, and then Wild Force and Samurai were their other appearances that they were in the show, as well as doing some voice work occasionally, especially Paul. I know Paul, I believe, did a couple of voice work opportunities with the show, so that's very cool. As far as other things go, they did announce the while they were there, we then ended up seeing more announcements made, not just for Legacy Wars. I mean, Legacy Wars was great. Recently they also showcased the SPD Delta Megazord, which was put into the game like last week, I believe it was, like 2 weeks ago actually. But then they also talked about that they're doing the Lord Draken. Let me move on to this thing. Lineage Studios is doing the special power morphers that you could do some customizing and do some other stuff with. It has different coins, so it's not just limited to like the standard coins, like the Mighty Morphin through Green Ranger coin, or even just the White Ranger coin. Maybe they'll do Lord Draken. Maybe they'll do, if they decide to do something with Ranger Slayer, they may do a special coin with her. Maybe they'll do the Ninja Ranger coins from Power Rangers season 3 of Mighty Morphin. Who knows? They maybe do some damaged coins, like the damaged coin that Johnny Young Bosch had in Power Rangers in Space. I mean, who knows? They could do some really cool stuff. We don't know anything for a fact. I don't really remember the exact details of the coins, but they do sound pretty cool. And Lineage Studios is also going to be creating some pretty cool statues, I believe, that will represent special images from different events in the franchise. Like they have this great image of the Forever Red Rangers from Power Rangers Wild Force from that episode, and then there's a great image of the Shattered Grid with several different Rangers from different time periods, and then the Shattered Grid aspect of it, and then an image with Jason David Frank and his different Ranger forms. So that's very cool all around, and I'm very excited for all that. They also showcased the Lord Draken pop figure that they are making, so that's very cool, and they're also making a metallic Green Ranger figure that will be helmetless. And what else is there that they discussed? They discussed the drop mix cards that they were having on display at the Hasbro booth. They discussed the Lightning Collection figure, which is a special toy line that will be a super amazing new line of figures. It's not clear as to whether or not the legacy figures will be done, and these will replace them, or if the legacy figures will continue on and these will be an additional thing that you can get. If I had to guess right now, I'm expecting it to be that this will replace them, but we don't know for sure. And people were asking that over and over again. Is this going to replace them? As of now, they cannot say. And I can understand that, because they don't want to make anyone think one way or another, whether or not it be that, oh, now I'm disappointed, or now I'm super happy. Again, we don't know if that also means that certain things that were planned are being canceled or what. Because, for example, there were plans, and there still are plans supposedly for the 3 Ninja Storm Rangers that are missing, the rest of the Psycho Rangers that are missing, In Space Silver Ranger, you name it. There's a lot of stuff that's already been planned, but it's unclear as to whether or not it's going to continue or if we're done with it for now. We don't really know all the details. We know the number of stuff has hit Australia, so like we know that Psycho Red, Psycho Blue has hit Australia. There's also been the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Green Psycho and Silver Psycho Ranger figures that have hit there. So you never know. We'll have to wait and see. We don't know anything about the other Psycho Rangers yet, about Black, Pink, and Yellow. Nothing has been shown of them specifically. So we'll have to wait and see about all that. Otherwise, I'd love to know your guys' opinions about all of that stuff, though. But then, as far as things go with the rest of this, then they went into, and that's the part that, and by the way, the Lightning Collection is going to be the thing that I'm going to be discussing in another video, because I do have a whole thing to discuss about the Lightning Collection. So as far as things go, the panel basically ended after that, and then it moved into the Super Ninja Steel panel. That was a great panel because they showcased a number of different things. All 6 Ninja Steel Rangers showed up. Kelson Henderson, Chris Reed, and Kayla Bendit did not show up. For those that don't know, Kelson Henderson played Mick, Chris Reed played Victor, and Kayla Bendit played Monty. So keep in mind that those 3 did not show up, even though they were at the convention. They were not in attendance at the panel. Andre Meadows, who played Hyperforce, Blue Ranger, Eddie, was the moderator for this panel, so that was kind of cool. He asked a bunch of questions to the individual Rangers, and he talked to them, but he also, we ended up seeing some cool stuff from the Rangers. We got to see a blooper reel of the show, showcasing work with all 9 of those characters, because those 9 really are the main characters for the show. From the most recent stuff to the oldest stuff of Power Rangers Ninja Steel, it was kind of showcased all around. I got to see stuff through the theme song that where there was rough takes in that, and just funny moments with like suit actors and monsters. That was just kind of fun to watch, and also with like the ninja, the ninja stars. Some of them there were problems with that with like the bloopers, so that was kind of fun to watch. As far as things go otherwise, there was a Q&A point where people got to ask a lot of questions, so that was really fun to watch and be able to see all that. Eventually, we also ended up seeing the 25th anniversary lineup for which Rangers will be showing up in the 25th anniversary, as well as how it will work, which showcased an army of evil Rangers that are clone Rangers. And a lot of things from that led to bigger questions like, how come we're seeing the Dino Thunder Black Ranger as a clone, yet Tommy Oliver is going to be showing up as the Green Ranger in this? What's the whole situation there? Why is that the case? And how come he's able to access the Green Ranger powers and yet these Black Ranger powers are being used? Can they utilize the other Ranger powers? You know, all that stuff and more we'll be discussing in another video. I'm not going to go into huge details here, but I'm just saying it right now. They showcase that. As far as who is in the lineup for the special, for those that are wondering, Li Ming who played RPM Silver, Gia, who played Megaforce Yellow. They're not doing Super Megaforce Yellow, at least from what we're seeing here. Although it could be that maybe she uses both. Steve Cardenas, who played Mighty Morphin Red, the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger during Season 2 and Season 3. In Space Blue Ranger TJ is showing up. It's not clear as to whether or not he'll use his Turbo Red Ranger powers, but maybe he will. Dino Thunder White Ranger Trent, who was played by Jeff Perezio, and by the way, In Space Blue is Solon Ward. Then on the other side of that, we have Catherine Sutherland, who is playing Turbo Pink, but she's also played, Zeo Pink and Mighty Morphin Season 3 Pink. Time Force Red, played by Jason Font, who played Wes and Alex from Power Rangers Time Force. Jason David Frank, who's going to be playing the Green Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 and part of Season 2, is going to be showing up. And Dino Thunder Blue Ranger Yoshi Siderso, who played Koda from Power Rangers Dino Charge, is going to be showing up. Steve Schuyler, who played Antonio, the Gold Samurai Ranger, is going to be showing up, and then the 6 Ninja Steel Rangers. So in total, that's 16 Rangers showing up for this special, which is a good number of Rangers. It's not too many, where we're having all these extras portraying the same character over and over again, and half of them don't look like they're designed properly at all, which was the issue with Super Megaforce. Because if you ever watch Super Megaforce, you might know that they had a number of suits because there were so many suit actors that had to be used, a lot of them were really not utilized properly. So that's a very important detail to consider. So as far as other things go, they then ended up showing some more stuff regarding the panel. Specifically after that, I'm trying to remember now how it worked. They showcased the Beast Morphers Rangers. The Beast Morphers Rangers, for those who don't know, are going to be played by 3 actors that we currently don't know their Ranger names yet. We do know what their Beast Bots names are going to be called, which are like the small characters that will be helping them and kind of acting as their sidekicks, but we don't know their Ranger names. The people, if you're wondering who they are, we have Jazzmeat, Buddha, I'm trying to remember his name right now. I always forget how to pronounce the blue Ranger's name. It's Jazzmeat, Bedwalia is the Blue Ranger. Jacqueline Skizlowski is the Yellow Ranger. And Rory Travis is the Red Ranger for Power Rangers Beast Morphers. Now, the thing that's weird is the fact that they're deciding to not reveal their names with the confirmation of who the actors will be. We do get to see them in costume, but we don't get to see who their names are yet. And believe me, I'm looking forward to getting to better hear their names over and over again, because as of now, I can't pronounce 2 of the 3 last names. And for me, I'm a person that likes to know the actors' names and not just who they are as Rangers, because I'd rather be able to go up to them and say, hey, so-and-so, how's it going? Rather than saying, hey, Ranger name, so-and-so, how's it going? Just because it doesn't feel as authentic, and they're people too, and it's like when you call them by the Ranger names, that's fine, but to me, I prefer to know them by who they are rather than just the Ranger names. That's how I am personally. There's some of them that I still don't know for Rangers, or that I don't really remember as well, but believe me, I always try to make sure I remember them. Even if I don't remember them right away, I just know that I need to know them. So that's always something to consider. So then after all that was done and said, they did a Beast Morphers trailer, which showcased the Beast Morpher Rangers, their Megazord, also some of the later Megazords and some other stuff as well for Beast Morphers. As far as things go otherwise, they had 2 Rangers per Beast Morphers Ranger announced one of these Rangers. So in other words, 2 of them, I believe it was like pink and white announced Jacqueline or Jackie, depending on how you know her. I believe it might have been blue and yellow announced Jazzmeat, and Jordy and William announced Rory. Travis. Rory. Rory Travis is his last. Travis is his last name. Yes, I was trying to remember how it goes right now. But yeah, so those are basically the main ones that I can say to you right now. As far as things go after that, after all the panel was done, I went out. I ended up going to a couple other things that day. I'm trying to remember now. I did manage to go back and go to the Lightning and go to the front, because there was a box that had the 25th anniversary written on it and everything like that, and it was covered, and that was where the Lightning Collection figure was, so I wanted to take a picture of that close up, and that was cool. Then after that, what I did manage to do is go to I'm trying to think now, because there's like so many things that happened during day 2. What else did I do? I was considering going to the JDF line, but the line was way too long. Like, believe me, it wrapped and it went like so far. So I was like, I'm gonna pass on this. And he was only there for 1 day, so that's the other thing to consider. As far as other things go, and also, by the way, like, I guarantee I'll meet him at some point. I just didn't want to spend all my time doing that, because there's so many other things that I could do, and there was a ton of other people that I ended up meeting that day. for example, I ended up meeting Caitlin Murphy, who played Ronnie, the Operation Overdrive Yellow Ranger. I ended up meeting Psycho Red Ranger, which he was so cool to meet. Like, I loved meeting him because he was just really nice. I ended up meeting Kyle Higgins and Ryan Parrott, and they were both awesome to meet. I got to speak to CS Toys, Mr. S, which was cool because I wanted to meet him. Because like I also like to meet some of the vendors that like I've known from the years from watching them online or doing stuff like that, or maybe seeing stuff posted on Twitter and Facebook and other things like that. So it was great to meet people like him. Who else did I get to meet? Oh man, I know I met on Saturday Caleb and Victor. Caleb and Chris, the actors that played Victor and Monty from Power Rangers Ninja Steel. So I actually met all 9 Ninja Steel Rangers, and I also met Chris Violetta from Power Rangers SPD. I know I met more actors. I just can't think of them all up top of my head. I believe that was day 3. But yeah, like those were just some of the ones that I remember meeting. I know I purchased a bunch of things. Like I purchased a few comics. I purchased some items. There was just a lot of things that happened that day. What's good in the YouTube? This is Crazy Samurai 71 here bringing another video, and this is basically a continuation of my day 2 experience video. I forgot about these 2 things that I wanted to mention for Power Morphicon day 2, and these may be inserted somewhere in the middle of the video or somewhere at the very end, so I decided that I would record this just so that I know that it was included somehow. The main things I want to discuss are 2 panels that happened day 2 that I went to and I had a great time at. Those panels were the Forever Red panel, which was very exciting. They had Steve Cardenas, who played Rocky, the Red Mighty Morphin Power Ranger from Season 2 and Season 3, and also Power Rangers Zeo Blue Ranger. They also had Solon Ward, who played the Turbo Red Ranger / In Space Blue Ranger, which was TJ. And they had Christopher Kamen Lee, who played Andros, the Red In Space Ranger. Sean C.W. Johnson, who played Lightspeed Red Carter. Time Force Red, Jason Font, who played Wes and Alex from Power Rangers Time Force. Dan Southworth, who played Eric, the Quantum Ranger from Power Rangers Time Force. What do you call it? Adam Tooman, who played Crimson Red from Power Rangers Ninja Storm, show up. They had, I'm trying to think each season. No, not Dino Thunder. SPD, they had Brandon J. McLaren. They didn't have Mystic Force, obviously. Operation No. 16 no. 7 RPM no. Samurai no. Megaforce, yes. Okay, yes, they had Andrew Gray from Power Rangers Megaforce / Super Megaforce show up, and he got a lot of questions asked by him for him, because Megaforce always gets a ton of questions, mostly good and positive stuff. Sometimes it's funny stuff, but yes, that happened. And Ninja Steel didn't have William Schufelt. Brennan Magia did show up as well, so those Brennan and actually Andrew probably got the most questions out of any of the Rangers, but Soul and Ward also got a ton of questions. Christopher Kamen Lee got a ton of questions. Jason Fawn and Dan Southworth got a good amount of questions. I'm trying to think. Adam Tooman got like 1 or 2 questions, which was good. It was a good time overall. I mean, the Forever Red panel was pretty nice. We got to hear some really cool things from each of the Rangers. Brendan Magia had to go to a photo op, and then afterwards he came back in his Dino Charge Red Ranger outfit, which was really cool to see him costumed up. And then as far as things go after that, we had the Shadow Grid live reading, which was so good. The Shadow Grid live reading, if you're wondering what that is, it's basically this reading where they had actors from several different shows and different parts of the series. They had Hyperforce Pink Ranger Chloe show up, so they had Megan Camarena. They had I'm trying to think now. David J. Felding, who played Zoran, he did the voice of Zoran, which was amazing. We got Barbara Goodson, who played Rita, and she did the voice of Rita, and that was incredible. We had Michael Sorovich, who played Babu and Squat, and I mean, he played Babu, and he played Squat in the show, but he did a good job at doing both. But his Squat was unbelievably good. They had Jason Vaughn, who got to portray Jason from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I'm trying to think who else they got to represent different characters. They had Peter Siderso, who got to represent I forget who he represented. I think he was either Billy or someone else from Mighty Morphin. We also had Walter Jones, who played Zach in this, and we had a number of other actors. Jason David Frank was supposed to be in this, but he couldn't do it. And that would have been incredible to hear him do the Shattered Grid live reading, but it was still so good. I tried to do a bit of a recording of it, and I tried like 4 or 5 times, and I have like split pieces of the recording, so you can hear like little parts of it, and I might post them online. But unfortunately, I wasn't really thinking of how I wanted to do this, because the problem was that they had on one screen, they would have like the actual comic images, and then they'd have the actors performing the roles. And again, you have to remember something. A lot of actors couldn't show up, so instead they had other actors take the part of those actors. So like, for example, Kimberly got to be played by Chloe from Power Rangers Hyperforce, and then other actors got to portray other characters because they just didn't have the actors. Like if Austin St. John could have made it, he would have portrayed himself. Paul Schreier, who played Bulk, he got to portray Bulk. Jason Narvi, who played Skull, he got to portray Skull. But he got to portray Skull, and he got to portray Bulk in the Shattered Grid stories. So like where you got to see them in like the coinless situation, everything like that, that was them from that story perspective. So just in general, that's all I wanted to talk about. It was such a great panel. I will go into more detail when I actually do my overall discussion on the Shattered Grid live reading and any additional stuff from that. But I just wanted to bring it up here, so either this will be the end of the video or this will be where the video goes back to where it was. So until then, guys, goodbye. Oh yeah, I went to get my wristband so that I could go to the Ninja Steel signing, which I managed to get into the perfect position where I was one of the first like 10 or 15 people to get something signed by them, and I had my big poster, which I managed to get them to sign each one of them. And also I had it where who else? What else was there? They also signed the special posters that they were giving out to anyone that was that got these wristbands. So they each signed those. I talked to them. I had nice conversations with each of them, and that was great. What else did I do day 2? Day 2, otherwise I went, I can't remember everything that happened. Again, there's so much that happened each day, so it's like, if there's stuff that I'm forgetting, just understand this right now. I'm only remembering what I can remember at this exact moment. There's so many things that I remember. They did have the Lord Wrecking Throne on display all 3 days of the convention, which you could sit in, take a picture in, whatever you wanted to do. I did go to the Angel Grove Prom. The prom was really, really fun. It was probably one of my favorite things that I went to for this convention. People were dressed up in suit and ties. People were dressed in dresses, for the women especially, of course. There were people dressed up in cosplay. Some people were dressed up in cosplay and put on their helmets, so that was kind of fun to see, like people like someone dressed up in a suit and tie, and then they put on their Dino Thunder White Ranger helmet. There was a guy that put on a Red Ranger helmet, a movie Red Ranger helmet, and a Blue Ranger helmet. You know, it was just kind of fun to see them like dressed up and then like having their helmets on, and then other people just in general doing stuff like that. They had all these great throwback music to the 90s, some music to the 80s, and some more modern 2000s music that was very popular, but they did it in this new club remix style that was really, really good. Everyone was singing. I mean, not everyone, but a lot of people were singing. A lot of people were dancing. Some people were sitting on the sides. There was a bar. I managed to go to the bar like once or twice because I got really thirsty from running all around. That's actually where I ended up getting the most injured. Not from anyone stepping on me or hurting me, just from dancing so much, and my legs, after having been on lines and having to stand continuously for hours and hours and hours, my legs just gave out at one point, so it started to really become a problem when it came to me dancing. And eventually around 12 o'clock I ended up leaving that Angel Grove prom. What did happen though during that prom, especially for those that were up towards the front like myself, we did have it where Hector from Power Rangers Samurai show up, and he ended up doing a flip off the stage, and then he ended up going up onto a speaker and doing a flip off the speaker, which was insane. And then he just did some really awesome cool dance moves. People just had a great time with that. There was a point where they're doing a raffle, and they had Christopher Kamen Lee and Justin Nemo show up on stage, and they ended up asking a question to one random fan, and then he got a Psycho Silver Ranger legacy figure. It was a simple question basically saying what's Zane's last name, and like everyone knows the answer pretty much is he doesn't have one. So that's an important detail to consider. But then following that also we had prior to that Jason David Frank, who said like one last goodbye to everyone, and everyone did like one big shout out, like one big like woohoo, just something like a big waving and goodbye to him, and then he had to head off to his next thing. As far as other things go, we did also have Deborah Estelle Phillips, who played the Time Force Yellow Ranger, who went up on stage, and she did some fun stuff as well. And there were a couple other people that showed up as well. I know that Tracy Lynn Cruz showed up at one point, Allison Sullivan showed up at one point, and a few other actors from different seasons did show up too. So it was definitely a very involved convention in all regards. And as I said before, day 2 was probably the most involved day, which is why this video was already 25 minutes long. So anyway, since I was one of the first 400 people to actually enter the Angel Grove prom, I managed to get a special ticket that allowed me to get a goodie bag because I was one of the first 400 people into the convention. This goodie bag included a special figure, which is something that you could get at your normal Target or Walmart, but the thing was that I didn't have to spend the $15 plus that I would have had to spend had I gone to those stores, and also a special card for Legacy Wars if you want to get additional shards for different Legacy Wars characters. The one that I got was for Coda. I don't know if they had any that were really rare in any of the goodie bags, like some legendary character, but who knows? Maybe they did. But I'm glad I got something at least. You never know. And the fact that I was so willing to just get in line and go right away made my life easier, made their lives easier. They also had the Lord Draken helmet, Lord Zed helmet at the hashtag show DJ booth, and also the Phantom Ranger helmet there as well, and the Mighty Morphin Red Ranger helmet. So that was cool. And just in general, it was a good time. And I stayed till about midnight. The event lasted actually till about 1, but I decided to not stay till the very end because I was getting tired and I had to get back to my room just for some other stuff that was going on. Anyway, I wanted to rest. So that's about it for day 2. And I will continue with day 3 for my next video. So until then, guys, I'm Crazy Samurai 71, and goodbye, guys.